Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the 107 podcast with myself, Jacob, and my co-host, Ash. Joining us today as we talk about the season opener, or openers, I guess, because there were two races of F1 Academy, is Kareena. Kareena is, I want to say, a repeat guest, but not really. We tried recording a while ago, didn't we? And it didn't really work out very well.
It's all right. It's fine. We'll try again.
The technical difficulties because I'm an idiot. So, Kareena, if you'd like to just introduce yourself to our audience and let them know who you are.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Kareena. I'm Kareenaonthegrid on TikTok and Instagram, and I've been doing this for a year, a little bit now, which is quite exciting. You know, it's nice to have had a whole year, and yeah, that's me.
Season 2 of Kareena on the Grid. Yes, F1 Academy opening weekend. Overall thoughts, what do we think of the two races?
Banger.
Okay, yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Ash, one word from you?
Interesting, but
Yeah.
in a good way. Yeah.
I'm going to go with positive. I don't think it was perfect, but I think it was positive. So there were two races, but I think we should talk about the elephant in the room initially and talk about what happened at the end of round 2, because that's obviously the biggest news coming out of this. So if you don't know, if you weren't watching F1 Academy, first of all, watch it because it's free. And Ash and myself, not took the piss, but we gave him a bit of heat for not publishing it anywhere. It wasn't broadcast anywhere, no nothing. So now that it's actually viewable and free globally on their YouTube channel, please do go and check it out because the race was pretty interesting. But end of the second race, Dorian Pan, who won, and as far as I'm concerned, still won, decided for some reason to do an extra lap of the track at high speeds, like at race speed. The engineer didn't really tell her that the race was over, and she didn't see the checkered flag, and there were no... To be fair, in her defence, when they were showing the camera of her going round again, I didn't spot any other flags being waved or anything like that. There was no red flag, so they did eventually red flag the session to stop her, but they kind of like race control let it go on for a bit longer. There was no nothing. It was just a straight like red flag, and then after the actual F1 race, which obviously happened a few hours later, then they gave her a 20-second time penalty, which dropped her down from first all the way to, was it 9th? Yes, 9th. Meaning that I don't even think she picked up a point for that race, if I'm right, which is pretty bad, especially, I don't mean to take over too much talking, but I'll get there in a second. I want to give everyone background. But especially because in F2, that happened once before, and the penalty was a grid penalty for the next race, I believe, and then like a fine for the team or whatever it was. So a 20-second time penalty does seem very harsh. For me, I would have just given her a grid place penalty at the next race. Like that would have made more sense. But I'll ask Kareena, what did you think about the whole situation? 20-second time penalty, the timing of it. It wasn't great, was it?
No, I haven't seen anyone who has said, yeah, this was a good idea. I'm glad she got like 20 seconds. I don't understand it. I think... Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I think fine the team should have told her, but when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. I don't think you're thinking about, oh, this is lap 18, are you? Like,
no,
I was so silly.
A team fine also would have been perfectly acceptable as well, because, I mean, yes, she is kind of at fault for not seeing the checkered flag, but, I mean, it's quite small and it's 20 feet up in the air, so it's understandable, especially if you're in the zone. It just doesn't sit right with most people. Ash?
I agree with Kareena. Like, if you're racing, you're not sure about lap numbers or anything like that, considering you have to be managing tires and the gap and knowing about all the positions. So I think it's unfair to penalize her in that way. Also, the penalty, apparently, which doesn't make sense, is a drive-through penalty, which you would never serve after the checkered flag. Yeah, so the official announcement is Dorian Penn has received a drive-through penalty, but because she can't serve it, it gets converted into a 20-second time penalty. Hence why she has dropped down so far. So
right.
And also, I think, the team as well, like, don't don't be celebrating. We always hear when, like, you know, Max now celebrating, they're like, hey, make sure the car is in this, pick up rubber, etc. Go
the
through
flag, yeah.
the cool down process. Whereas they just went straight into celebrating, considering they had also done race one. They went straight into celebrating. Before. Yeah, it's a bit confusing how they messed up, but hopefully they'll learn from it. And unfair to penalize the driver in that sense, I think. I guess it's for safety issues, because I guess people would go onto the track and stuff. But yeah, onwards and upwards.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so, right?
Yeah. But then I'm like, I don't know. I just think 20 seconds is crazy when she's dominated the entire weekend. She was absolutely on it. Like, it's mad to me.
Yeah, I saw that, in complete honesty, to spoil, we're going to chat about race 1 and race 2, but there were 2 drivers that just ran away with it, essentially. They were a cut above everyone else, like a clear cut above everyone else. But like, I saw a few people saying like they're only doing it to make it interesting for the next few rounds, and it's like, that just seems horrible and fabricated and blah blah blah. But I think in reference to obviously what happens on the proper F1 race, with the 20 drivers, I think that, to be completely honest, the timing of it as well was bad, but also the stewarding this whole weekend in Saudi Arabia has been particularly harsh, unless your name's Lando Norris. I don't understand the stewarding decisions personally. But there we go. So let's.
Do we think 13 laps is too short?
It did seem a bit odd as well. 13 laps was a bit odd, especially because race 1, I believe, was 11 laps.
Because a lot of these drivers, I think especially Dorian, who's 12 in World Endurance Championships, like I'm guessing 13 laps is like a warm up for her.
Yeah.
And so, is it too short? And
maybe that's why she missed the Jeddah flag.
Yeah, there could be a reason where like she's just so used to like racing for like hours.
Yeah.
Whereas like I'm not tired or anything like that.
Yeah. Race 1 was 12 laps. Race 2 was 13 laps.
Yeah, that's real quick. Like, that was a sprint race.
Yeah.
You know? It was a bit...
And the lap times were like 2 minutes 5-ish on average to 2 minutes 10, I think. So like, it's not that long of a race. You could have easily done like 15, maybe even 20 laps if you really wanted to. Yeah. Seems a bit odd. I don't know what the laps are like for the next couple of races either, but still, just very, very odd. But yeah, so should we discuss race 1 first? Because there were a couple of incidents in race 1, and then we'll jump back into race 2 and talk about the rest of that afterwards. So Kareena, you said you took down a lot of notes. I'm very interested to see if your notes line up with what I've got written down as well.
I did, but then I look back at my notes and I seem to have like jumbled race 1 and race 2 together, which is not ideal.
Oops.
I don't know how that's happened. So now I'm trying to think. Of course, I put my notebook down on the side, and I didn't think to grab it before. That was
no worries.
Great going from me. I was very prepared. So what were my thoughts? I think a lot of it was just that I saw the Pan was dominating so much, and obviously we said like Abby was also. It was like them two ahead of everyone else. And I think there were a lot of like incidents I've been struggling to say that word all day. Incidences where like. I don't know. It was just there were so many of them that it was quite dramatic. I was trying to like write it all down, but I was trying to keep up with it, and I don't know. There was a lot going on.
It was hectic. It was. Yeah. It was interesting, but it was hectic for both races. And yeah, some of the accidents were just so avoidable, and then some of them were just driver error, which happens, you know. But yeah, there were definitely like varying levels of skill going on as well. Like I feel like for me. We're only in round 1, obviously, but for me, Pan and Pulling are so far ahead of the rest of the field. Like, it is quite literally a 2-horse race, and then whoever's best of the, I guess, midfield is the other interesting battle. But so, notes I had were, for some reason, Bianca, who drives for McLaren, just kept cutting turn 1, just kept doing it, and didn't get any track limits violations whatsoever. I then had that the commentators weren't particularly great.
that's been discussed quite a bit.
They actually weren't good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly,
Yeah.
I reckon the three of us would do a better job at this point. Like, honestly,
it'd be
they would
sick.
not. Yeah, just get us in. Susie Wolf, my number is 4. No.
Let me play devil's advocate against you two.
Go on then.
It is a new series.
True.
With new drivers and new tracks. You know, there's going to be a little bit of getting used to teams and drivers and things like that, where it's like Crofty knows all 20 drivers, right?
True.
You know, they probably can. So just to play devil's advocate, just a little bit, because I thought the commentary was okay. I know the mistakes are made. It's a lot harder, I think, also when you do it. But I think it's the first race. Everything is new.
Yeah.
If it was like the 4th season and they're still making these kind of mistakes, I'd be like, come on now. It's been like 4 seasons.
I think I just expected more.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a mix. I'm like, I'm totally on board with the whole, it's the first season, like they're getting used to it. I think there was just some points where I was like, what's happening here? Like they showed a clip. I can't remember. Someone was like in the pits or something, and then about 20 seconds later, they were saying that she was in the pits for a different reason. It just didn't quite add up sometimes. I can't remember the exact thing that happened, but I just remember seeing that and being like, huh? Like, yeah.
There was a lot of waffle as well. Like, I remember at one point they were like, have you got a brother or a sister? Oh, I've got a younger sister and she won't take driving tips off me. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, the race is actually interesting and you're not talking about it. You're talking about whether or not your brother shops at Asda or Sainsbury's. Like, I don't care. Like, I just expected more because I know that the female commentator, whose name I can't remember, she is a commentator for Formula E. So I would have expected a little bit more, even though I've never really watched Formula E because I don't like microwaves. I just expected a bit more from her. So I think that was also where some of my disappointment came from. So yeah.
I would say the noise of the cars was interesting.
Yeah, it was different. Quite liked it.
It was different. Like individually, they sounded like lawnmowers, but together they actually sounded quite. But they sounded quite good, and it kind of put F1 to shame a little bit. And it was nice that Lewis Hamilton was there to congratulate Kareena.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
It'd have been nicer seeing other drivers and other team members there, but you know, he seems to be leading the way, and hopefully we'll see some more of that in the coming races.
Yeah, I saw that the team principals showed up for the podium ceremony as well, and I think a few of them also showed up to like offer words of encouragement and stuff. So, and I know that Lando went to go see Bianca as well in the garage like an hour or so before, maybe like after free practice or whatever it was. So there's a little bit of support from the regular Formula One drivers, but there probably should be a little bit more. It might be quite nice.
That's the thing, right? That's what gets shown on clips on social media.
Yeah.
It's like that's the thing you see, and that's the thing is going to help promote and grow the sport.
Yeah.
Oh, Lewis was there. Let's have a look.
Didn't Liam Lawson turn up at one point as well? I think he did. I think so. I can't remember. I'll give him credit anyway. Let's just say he turned up. He's a nice bloke. We'll just say he turned up.
He's not in it. We don't really know if he was there. I feel like he doesn't get as much attention being like, oh, Liam's here. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then the only other note that I had for race 1 was, other than Pan, great race. That's what I wrote down. I also had Leah Block spinning on one of the curbs, and I just wanted to, first of all, Leah Block has an absolutely fantastic rally career. This is the first experience she's ever had in single-seaters, and she's keeping up with the rest of them who have all had single-seater experience. So I think that's pretty good, to be completely honest. But that's all of the notes I had for race 1. I didn't actually take notes for race 2 because I forgot. But race 2 was still interesting.
Yeah. So that's what confused. I think maybe it's because I put like Leah Block spun, but I swear she did it like something happened with her in both races.
Yeah.
And that's why I was getting confused. I was like, what if I wrote down?
Yeah, she got messed up by the Charlotte Tilbury car because whoever was in the Charlotte Tilbury car, whose name I can't remember. Lola, yeah. She span out, and then she managed to keep the car alive, which is great. And then she literally drove straight into the side of Leah Block and took her front wing off, which meant that she DNF'd essentially. She was last, I want to say, or did she DNF? No, she was 11th. Sorry, I do apologise. In the first race, she DNF'd. But yeah, that was really annoying. But I tell you what, though, Bianca's reactions, because Bianca was coming up on the incident as well, to go round the outside and cut turn one as she had so much practice of doing the day before, was actually really good reaction times, if I'm honest. So I think that most of the drivers managed to get out of the way really well, which was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's part of the driver development program. I feel like she's quite on it with these things. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's Bianca.
Yeah, I think that she's probably one of the more experienced of the drivers outside of pulling and Pan. But so pre-race, Ash and I also picked some favourites that we were going to support, and I picked Tina Hausman and also Leah Block. And Ash, what you said last week was absolutely right in that you get invested and then they don't do particularly well and they get really annoyed.
It hurts. Which is funny because the two, I'd never seen them race before. The two I was actually going to pick were going to be Dorian Pan and Abby Pulling.
Yeah, of course you had.
Yeah.
And I was like, well,
good pick, Ash.
Yeah, well, now I said that I'm not going to invest anyone because it hurts too much when they crash. Or they don't win. I've been scarred with Fernando, so
understandable.
Yeah. Now that you've seen race one, is there any changes you would see maybe for like next season or things you'd like to come in based on what you've both seen? Now, for me, I think it should either be a sprint race and a normal race rather than just two of the same races. And maybe, but yeah, what do you think?
So one thing that I would also like to see for Formula One as well is I think the opening round should have been in Bahrain, because then for race one, they could have used the outer loop. For race two, they could have used the Grand Prix normal track. So the Sakir Grand Prix, they could have used that. They could have used alternate track layouts. That could have been a fun way to do that.
Yeah. I'm agreeing with you on that one. I do. I think, oh, sorry.
No, please go on.
I agree with it. I was like, I think that they should have a sprint race and then a bigger race. Like we've all said, the races were a bit short. So I just like to see a bit more. But then I don't know if maybe I was it was more engaging because so much was going on within such a short space of time. So I don't know if maybe they're trying to build on it from that angle to like get people in. But I'd like to see them longer.
Yeah, I think that if you'd have, for example, shortened one race to like 10 laps and then extended the other one to like 15, 16, I felt like that would have been fine. Or you could even, because obviously, let's be honest, this is a brand new or pretty much brand new series. There was obviously a series last year that nobody ever saw. But they could have done something where they're like, right, 5 laps, like it's all out, it's just carnage, 5 laps, get as far as you can, and then the second race will be like 15, 20 laps type thing. So you have those two different sides of it type thing. That could also be potentially quite fun as well. So I don't know, but I think that differentiating the length of the races would be a little bit better.
Yeah, but I like their wild card thing. I swear, I can't remember if that was in last year, but I don't remember hearing about it last year. But I really like it that they've done that now, and I'm trying to I don't know, I just think it's a nice opportunity for people to be able to get into it and at least have one go at it. So, I mean, that's not a difference, but keep it, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ash?
Yeah, it's super hard to get into motorsports unless you're rich, really.
Yeah.
So it's even harder. So I think, having that wild card spot, it's like if you've got the talent, you can have the opportunity and get them. And hopefully, because there's only, 16 drivers?
Yeah.
I mean, that could usually push another couple of teams in to match the Formula One or even more. So, but I think that will happen in the future when they see the growth of the sport. They're like, oh, more people are watching, let's get more teams in, and then people will invest and sponsor, and hey, we want to sponsor a team, etc. So it's just race one. And but it's positive, like Jacob said, and it'd be interesting to see what the next few races hold, if it's going to be like a Max Verstappen-esque season for Dorian Pan, or if Abby Pulling can come in and mix things up, and who knows?
I hope she does. I want to see a
I hope
title
so
fight
too.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Something.
It seems to be only F2 at the moment, but yeah, it'd be nice to see like a title fight.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think with this race track as well, the Saudi Arabian racetrack doesn't exactly promote that much overtaking unless it's DRS as well. So I am actually hoping. So the next track is Miami, and that's at the beginning of May. So that's from the 3rd to the 5th of May. And so I actually hope that, although realistically we know that Miami isn't the best race for overtaking either, hopefully there will be some more opportunities to overtake, because there's no DRS on these cars. These cars are very simple. It's like a small-ish 1.4 litre engine. It's not like, 1,000 horsepower type thing like a Formula One car is either. So I think that it's going to make things interesting when they have a track where they can actually overtake. The full calendar, I guess, is Miami, Barcelona, Zandvoort, Singapore, Qatar, Lusail, and Abu Dhabi. So I think that there's a few tracks in there where there can be some overtaking, because I know that Abby was complaining that she couldn't overtake Pan anyway. So it was, it was difficult. So hopefully more different tracks should encourage it a little bit more, for sure.
It's interesting. She actually said on the radio that she's quicker than her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so a chance to overtake. So
we'll have to get her to put her money where her mouth is in May, and see if she can prove she's quicker.
But on that, right? Do you guys think that the time gap between the first race and the second one is too big? Do you think that's going to make it lose momentum?
I think it's a bit big. Ash?
I think it's a little.
Yeah, it is, because there's so much going on, you forget, right? I think a lot of us have forgotten what's happened in Bahrain. And that was a week ago.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have an attention span.
Yeah, that you're completely right. So having it wait a month, we have to learn the names again and the teams and everything. It's like naturally, because of the time and everything. It's like we know Max Verstappen is in Red Bull. We know Zhu is in Team Stake, Sauber, Kick, F1, whatever it is. And then you'd be like, who does Tina Hausman race for again? It's like, what's Pulling's first name? It's all going to be forgotten. You're right. So hopefully it'll be interesting to know the reason why there's only 6. Do you know why?
That's what I was wondering as well. I was like,
7.
Guys, come on.
7. Is it 7?
Yep.
7.
6.
I thought it was 6.
I meant 6 more races. Oh, okay. Yeah, is it because they've got the stewards there, the teams are there, everything's set up. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, so it was a similar thing last year for F2. Do you not remember? They were in Imola, and then it was like 2 months until the last race that was in Abu Dhabi, and it was like, why? Why is there such a long wait? But I guess it's because they could slot in F1 Academy where they're not doing F3 weekends, maybe. So maybe, or like they're not doing F3 and Porsche Cup, so they need spaces for the garages and stuff like that. Maybe that's part of the reason. But I think, and I've said this before, in all honesty, if a facility can't knock up a couple of temporary garages in a car park or somewhere for these 16 cars, I would question whether or not you should even have that on the calendar. But I think that it would have been nicer if they'd have honestly opened up with like a double header, so they could have done Bahrain and then done Saudi, and then maybe if they'd have done double headers all the way through, or maybe even ended with a triple header, that could have been fun as well. But they are ending with a double header, actually. So they're in Qatar from the 29th of November to the 1st of December. Although on their website, it does technically say the 29th to the 1st of December. Good job. And then Abu Dhabi, it says the 6th to the 8th of December as well. So they are ending with a double header, but you're right, it could lose momentum quite quickly.
Yeah, that's my only thing. I'm like, guys, like change or even they could have started later in the calendar and maybe spread it out. I don't know, spread it out, but like, I don't know. It just feels weird to have this basically 2-month gap.
It is a bit odd.
I'm like, oh, okay.
It's. I think the other thing is we're comparing it to the Formula One calendar where there are 24 races. Now, if you go back 10 years and there were, 15, 16 races, something like that. If you've only got 7 Formula One Academy weekends, that's every other weekend. Like,
Yeah,
that
that's
actually
true.
seems like a lot more now. So FOM, too many races, come on. But yeah, so that's not exactly great either. Yeah. But I think that the weekend has definitely made me excited for the next time I was going to say come into town, but you get my point. The next race weekend should be pretty good.
Yeah, I was living for the drama. I was like, can't remember any of it. No, but I just remember thinking, wow, this is like entertaining. I'm gripped. So yeah, I'm excited for it as well. Maybe we'll be in town. Maybe we'll get invited to Miami. You never know, guys. Okay?
Yeah,
Maybe
no.
it'll roll in.
Yeah, so like I said, Susie, my number is if you want to send us a couple of invites, that's more than okay. Barcelona's a bit closer if you want to, I mean, that's also acceptable. Singapore's also good. I think that works for my calendar. But yeah, and then I guess any final thoughts around this sort of round from you, Ash?
No, I think there's a lot to take away from it, but it's a good start.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good start. And they've taken on a lot of the feedback from the previous series, and then hopefully they'll just continue to do it for the next few seasons.
Exactly. And Kareena?
Yeah, I think I'd like to see more about the drivers. Their intro was like different to the F1 intro, and it's a bit more like jokey. And I liked seeing that kind of personality. I think if they do it more, it's not exactly on the racing side, but a bit more like social media activation and that kind of thing. I think it'd be better to try and build that connection with the drivers. So I'm hoping they start to introduce that somewhere, because we need to see it, but I don't know. Until we get that, I feel like it's just sort of separated from it still. And it's like, oh.
It could be a bit more fun. I know that on F1 TV they do like a pre-race build-up. Why couldn't they do the same thing for F1 Academy? Like a 10 to 15 minute show. They get like not maybe even a grid walk type thing, where you have a quick chat with the drivers, and because there's not going to be tons of like media and stuff on the grid for that or in the pit lane. So that could be a fun way to do it as well. Have a quick chat before they jump in the car, which they sometimes do with the Formula One drivers as well. So
yeah, that's what they need. They need a grid walk.
Something like that would be really fun.
They need Martin there. That's what they need.
Yeah, get Martin in.
Chaos.
He would love it because he doesn't have to jump into it any celebrities. He can just go.
No, he'd love it. Yeah. I think that oh god, as soon as I wanted to say her name completely fell out of my head. But the woman who is usually on Sky Sports, oh god, like one of the main presenters, whose name
Rachel Brooks.
No, but she did like the post race. Naomi. She did the post race interviews. She actually did a really good job. So I think she could do the grid walk as well. She would be a really good person to do the grid walk too. So just as a nomination there. I think that would be really good, even though I couldn't remember her name because my brain don't work apparently. It's fine. But yeah, cool. All right, well I think we've been chatting now for like 28 minutes, which is quite a long time. But yeah, I think that's probably about it. We will come back in May in Miami. We'll do another one of these. Thank you very much for joining us, Kareena. It's been lovely to have you on, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks for having me, guys. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for coming. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks.
Cheers.